Hello and welcome to another episode of Intune Training, the Steve and Adam Show, the place to learn how to use Microsoft Intune. With a whole bunch of people, we got Steve and we got Jake, the executive assistant, we got Ben, the intern, and we got a random dude who knows about Intune settings catalog, Mr. Mike Danoski.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You hit it. Yeah, exactly right. Mike Danoski. Although I'm from Chicago, so the further you can turn that O into an A, especially like an AH, like Danoski, that's perfect.
Danoski? All right. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, so go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, you'll do better than I will. Go ahead.
So I'm a program manager working on the device configuration team, which includes ADMX settings, the new settings catalog, all that good stuff, kiosk profiles, all that fun for Windows.
Nice.
Yeah.
For Windows, yes.
For Windows specifically, yeah. There's other folks that are working on other platforms. So we work on, as you've seen maybe in the preview, now that everything's flighted, they're not flighted, right? Everything's deployed out. You will see that Mac OS also has a settings catalog from the wonderful Mac OS team using the same infrastructure and mechanisms that we're using, which is fantastic. And they have edge settings there, which is good. A little different use case than what we're doing over in Windows, but still super awesome. Yeah.
Very cool. So for the broader audience of folks who aren't familiar or haven't seen settings catalog, that's the goal of this video. Is we want to do a deep dive and introduce you to settings catalog, and it's in preview, and it just got flighted out to all of my tenants yesterday afternoon. or finally pushed out.
Awesome. I was doing a demo with a customer, like literally. I set up for my demo, and then an hour later, on the call with the customer, it suddenly appeared. I'm like,
I DM'd Mike 4 different tenants, and I was like, Mike, here's the ones that aren't working. And he said, all right, try now. And I said, oh, well, one's working. All right, like, keep going. And so I kept trying all day.
I didn't do anything.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't.
But it gave me hope.
In between, yeah. It's trying to tweet out and set expectation for cloud deployments is always fun because there's always one more cache that needs to be refreshed and one more thing. And if you try and be really, really transparent and say like this thing needs to do this, it's not super helpful for people. Just so long as you can give a deadline, and then when that deadline passes and things still aren't working, you go back and go, here's the new deadline. Now try this and this and this and then that. So yeah, it's super fun. And I came from the support side of Intune before going into PM, and so that was, always fun as well. Trying to manage that expectation for, hey, this is coming out here, don't use this yet, that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Well, I know that I was. I mean, so the announcement came out with the February release, the February update for Intune, and then it was like, okay, it's going to be another week, and so I've been on a couple times a day, just going in and drilling through and checking, is it here? Is it here? Is it here? And I've just been just like waiting for this. So I finally got in and got to play with it a little bit today, and so I mean, we're all very, very excited about this because we know that this is just the stepping stone into getting us just a more consolidated place to manage our settings, or as some people would say, like a sixth place to manage our settings. So
we can talk about that.
We'll see, right?
I've got a joke. Is this kind of like a way to group policies together? Thank you.
Oh, man. Mute that guy.
Would you have to group them, though, Ben, if it's just one?
Well, that's a good question. That is a good question.
Please, Mike, as you go through this, as you guys do documentation on it, just make as many references to grouping policies together.
Yeah, no, we can, and extending the client side and anything we can do to just further confuse. That's kind of the goal of
these aren't group policies. These are group profiles. Sorry, folks. It's totally different.
Administrative templates. Come on,
what's your preference for your group policies? Yeah. Great.
So you're one of us. You get it.
I get it. Yeah. I actually, when I started at Microsoft, I was on the support team for Active Directory on-prem back in 2012.
Sounds like fun.
It's a lot of fun. So it's GPOs, ADFS, DFSR.
People locking themselves out of their domain.
There's a lot of that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of good stuff. It's a great place to learn. It's a fantastic place. And then that's where, that moved to Windows Phone. And that's where I sort of got into Intune and MDM and all that good stuff. And then now we're here. Now we have settings catalog.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So Mike, before we dive into settings catalog, and we're just basically just to set the stage for everybody, we're going to be just doing some just off the cuff demos. I'm going to be driving. I'm sorry, but can you describe kind of the mechanism for just in general for how profiles, how settings get pushed down from Intune to the devices, and just kind of the whole behemoth of, because I mean I would say that it seems like roughly 75% or more of Intune is just this. It's configuration and then getting those down to the right clients the right way. So can you talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, and absolutely, I can do that. And it really, I was answering some questions on Twitter recently about some of the mechanics and stuff like that, and people asking out push and retry and what we actually do and some syncml stuff. And really the backbone of all of it is OMA-DM and syncml. It all started back in Windows Phone, I think 8.0. Well, if you're going to be picky, we can go back to Windows Mobile 6.5.
What about Symbian?
Yeah. Okay. So in Windows Phone 8.0, is where we saw a lot of the MDM support start. Before that, on phone type devices, it was usually like the EAS policy and stuff like that you would get when you got an email profile. But really, MDM mainstream in Windows was starting in we'll just say Windows Phone 8.0.
And we'll go with Windows 8.
Yeah, that works. And then, so what was happening was all these new things were coming, all these new features were coming out, and Windows would say, okay, instead of building GPO, because you can't domain join a phone, right? Let's do MDM. And these are all over the internet and everything. So this is all going to be MDM. And so that's where it kind of started. And then you see, as we progress into Windows 8.1, Windows 10, that comes into the main desktop client, right? It moves from the phone onto the regular client. And so where did that all start? We have CSPs. So a CSP is a client-side configuration service provider that sits in Windows and listens for Policy Manager, which gets requests from over the network to go ahead and make configurations. And you can target these CSPs using their identifier or their unique resource identifier or the OMA URI. So OMA URI is Open Mobile Alliance unique resource identifier. So Windows goes out and publishes and says, here's a feature, here's how you can control it, here's the type of data that it wants, and here's some examples of the data you can send. So for example, turning on Bluetooth could, you have your CSP path that you drop in there, and then a 1 or a 0 turns it on, turns it off type stuff. And then it gets vastly more complicated from there, like writing VPN profiles and assigned access CSP and all that really fun stuff. And
XML. It's all about the XML.
I've spent a lot of time troubleshooting XML for those specific things coming through custom profiles. And so that actually raises a good point, because custom profiles technically in Intune today, if a CSP exists and we don't have UX for it, you can write a custom profile that goes down and hits that node and turns it on or turns it off. The problem with that is we don't have any control over the logic of that. So if that's a CSP that when you do a delete, you have to do something special, or when it interacts with another setting, you have to handle the reporting in a certain way or something like that. The big part is like building VPN profiles or Wi-Fi profiles. If you miss one part, the profile actually doesn't deliver correctly, or it does deliver and it doesn't show up. So there's a lot of things that it's good to have a built UX that handles it correctly. And so one of the goals of settings catalog is to go through and basically build everything off of the CSPs. So if a CSP exists and we have the definition file for it, we can go in and pull that setting in, dynamically build a UX control, and then show them all in one page and let you pick and remove what you like. it is using the same same fundamentals, right? So you save a policy, we go ahead and convert that over to what the device actually expects for SyncML, and then we send that down to the device. Every time the device checks in, we send it. Windows checks in once every 8 hours. It's more rapid right after enrollment. It's every, what is it? It's so it's every 3 minutes for 15 minutes, every 15 minutes for 2 hours, and then 8 hours indefinitely.
Mm-hmm. Which is why you have all those lovely warnings on things saying this might take 8 hours to apply.
Yeah, certainly. And when a device checks in, it's grabbing policy for the device and the user that's signed in. And if the user isn't signed in yet, sometimes it'll check in and just get the device policy and stuff like that. And which is what's really nice with Autopilot, because you can assign things ahead of time to the device, and when it turns on, you start getting stuff a little earlier. You don't have to, wait on any of the other things that are quick but can take time. Someone asked, why is sync so slow? And it's like there's a lot of pieces going on. Depending on what you're doing, it can be slower or it can be super fast.
Just don't deploy every single setting like you had in group policy, because it's just going to slow your computer down exactly the same.
What's that? Don't do hybrid. That's all I heard.
Yep,
man.
So yeah, I mean, that's it. And actually, this brings a good question, because people ask, like, how do I retry a policy? That's a question we get a lot. And really, every time we sync, we're pushing down all the policy. So a single retry won't do a whole lot more than what a sync would do, unless it's like something like a profile gets in a bad state and actually needs to get removed. A retry won't really help you out there, but that's a question we get a lot. But yeah, so did you have any other specific questions about, I mean, because the high level, right? We save the profile, turn it into SyncML, send it down to the device every 8 hours. And then it hits Policy Manager. Policy Manager saves everything and then goes off, and when it runs, goes and changes all the other stuff that needs to happen on the other side. So
yeah, no, I think that's great, because I think just in general, I think it's, you've got this pretty user interface, and you've got all these different ways to essentially be able to change and save some of the same things in different places and stuff. And it's like, all right, well, are they doing the same? Like, if I make a CSP, a custom CSP, is it doing the same thing as using a template profile? And are they? And so it sounds like what you're saying is that on the back end, yes, ultimately everything is being translated from the nice, pretty GUI interface that you configured it into the same SyncML policy that goes down to the client.
And that's a good point too, because some of our policy is really straightforward, right? Turn the setting on and off, and some of them, like the kiosk profiles, the CSP itself takes an XML with hundreds of switches, super configurable. Steven's nodding his head. He knows. And so some of our profiles are actually, while it may be many switches back and forth, it's actually just generating an XML that's going to be put into that CSP. So that kind of stuff you won't see in settings catalog, because simply settings catalog, we're taking setting by setting, and if there's a setting that requires a whole bunch of stuff to go along with it, like kiosk specifically, we wouldn't be doing you service by just having an XML entry in there, right? And so the kiosk profile is really the best way to do stuff like that. So long as, if you've started to see, and if you want to maybe pull up the tenant, you'll see we've sort of changed with settings catalog, not only launching the feature, but also changing some of the fundamental ways in which you create policy. So today, if everyone has a tenant up, do you guys want to have a race to see who can find a particular setting the fastest?
Yes, give me 1 second.
All I heard was we're having a race to see how quickly we can delete Adam's policy that he creates.
I'll win.
But Ben's going to try to do it with Ben's going to try to do it with Graph.
I'll use the Graph.
So he'll lose.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Wait, I gotta authenticate.
Yeah, let me know when everyone's ready, because I've wanted to do this as a demo, but this is good. We have
For those of you watching, we're going to time you too. So
yeah,
all right, sweet. So
at home.
What are the rules here, Mike? Do we have to be on the home portal of Endpoint?
Yes.
Yeah, just start here, just at home, and then I'll call out a a setting, and let's see
Then
who
go
can.
to devicemanagement.microsoft.com.
You mean endpoint?
Endpoint.microsoft.com.
Endpoint.
No.
Endpoint.
Come on, I'm trying to sabotage him, guys.
Okay. Yes.
SecurityCenter.microsoft.com.
aka.ms/i.e.
Gotta go to portal.azure, navigate to Intune for education, and then back over
That's
to.
right.
Hey, if that's where you want to go, actually,
all right.
it might be just as successful. So when I say go, I'll name a setting, and then whoever can create a profile and hit save, quickest.
Are we doing it in settings catalog specifically?
Don't use
Or
settings
any-
catalog. Don't use settings catalog.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Should I time? I'll I'll get a timer. Hold on.
All right.
This will be good.
Get the Mario Kart beep 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 beep.
Am I going to lose my MVP if I don't win?
Yes.
Yes, there's
Okay.
a lot riding on the line for this.
Nothing
No,
to
this-
lose.
Fair enough. Kathy, don't watch this.
All right, ready? I'm gonna do a relatively. Is that? Oop, we got someone over in Portal.Azure.
That's not.
Oh,
right.
I'm gonna go
What are you
revoke
doing?
their global admin rights.
I was gonna say, is someone getting some rights removed real quick?
No cheating. Come on.
Yes, but Adam, when you revoke our global admin rights, you've got to wait
Hey.
for us to do our primary refresh token, so therefore we'd still have
You
access.
never
'cause
gave me
we've
my
already
GA
authenticated.
back either, so
Steve, we
Yeah,
don't-
you don't.
I'm at a
you gotta
disadvantage.
earn it, Jake. You got to earn
Oh,
it.
Jake can't even.
I'm at a
play.
disadvantage. Don't worry about it. I got this. What it means is less things are gonna load in the portal for me, so I have that slight
Oh, I see.
advantage.
Yeah,
Streamline
cool.
Yeah.
experience. There you go.
Exactly.
All right, Mike. What are we doing?
All right, I think we're adding Jake as an admin.
Okay.
Maybe.
For
It's
those
gonna
at
just
home,
screw up everything up.
you shouldn't do this so flippantly as we do. Don't give out global admin to random people.
No PIM or anything, Adam.
Yeah, no PIM. That's really poor form.
If you want to play or not, come on. All right,
Let's do it.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
All right, create
Yep.
a profile that will disable Bluetooth.
Okay.
Oh man. You guys are watching what I'm doing, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. Ooh, it's gonna cost you
Good.
time naming the policy instead of just running your fingers across the home
Done.
run.
I'm done.
Oh, Ben's done.
Got MVP
Really?
for another couple of days. Yeah. You forget that I've been doing Intune for like 3.5 years.
Done.
Look, I got there though. Look at this. Done.
There you go.
Wow, you did it in a very different way than I did.
52 seconds. Okay, so how is anyone still going?
I was
No.
still looking for it, but I see where it's at now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never done this before, and I just get
So
it.
you did it in attack surface reduction?
You did it in ASR rules over in endpoint security. Ben did it in device restrictions.
Device
Device
configuration.
restrictions.
Yeah, device
That's the one I
restrictions. That's
started doing was
correct.
device
Yeah.
restrictions.
And Steven
Where?
went there too.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Where'd you guys go?
So pull up
Yeah,
config
go into
profiles.
configuration profiles and go to the
And then
winning
just
one,
type
which
in
is you should
Steve
be able to
loses.
tell the name.
Adam loses. There we go.
Oh.
Got it.
So I might have jumped the gun a little bit. I just went in and said block Bluetooth, but like
Yeah.
that should solve.
No,
That's in up the top cellular and connectivity
Yep.
Yeah.
and
There you
Bluetooth
go.
block.
And it was brute force. We are blocking Bluetooth.
Yeah, pretty much. So all the other things are there, but that's going to.
I didn't have time to read. I just clicked everything that said Bluetooth on it. So.
Yep.
All right, and then
So-
Steve, did you do the same place?
I did exactly the same.
Okay. Okay.
So why did it take you so long?
You could have
Because I
the
took my
most
time.
the most wrong answer would be to do custom profile, go to the docs,
Yeah, for
grab
sure,
PSP.
for sure.
And so this really the reason I wanted to do this because this highlights our change. So this is the perfect screen to be on. The change in our process for simplifying the creation process. So instead of all of you sort of taking the time and thinking like, okay, do I go to endpoint security? Do I go to configuration profiles? And then
Yeah.
even if you click templates here, there's still the next question of which
What
template
template
is it
do you
in?
want? Yeah.
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 And so if you're not familiar with device restrictions, you're either off to the docs or you're reading tooltips. And this comes with how we've been iteratively building Intune and adding settings as we go. In the settings catalog, the thought is to start back at the foundation of let's pull every setting in based directly off of Windows code. You might have noticed too that some of the options and some of the strings might have been different based on where you went. Versus device restrictions versus if you were in it might be in the baseline as well. It's probably not
security
in the
baseline names are different than
Yeah. So when we added settings in the past, it was very research driven. It was working with teams and saying this is what the string should be and this is what the tooltip should be. It's very hand built. And there's two schools of thought, is that the further you go away from exactly what Windows documentation says and exactly what the setting says, and even down to the CSP name and the node name, the more confusion you add. But there's also the reverse, right? Like if the setting doesn't natively read well and you can understand what it is, then you're also sort of stuck. So two things that we're doing is we're with the settings catalog and the settings behind the settings catalog, they match for the most part 100% to what the CSP says. And instead of that decision of saying, I want to go create a profile with this setting, where's this setting exist? We want to say, do you want to start from scratch and create your own policy off of whichever settings you'd like to add, or a template, which will take like settings for a scenario and put them together. So moving forward, if we want to make a template for like maybe it is the device control template where it's security focused, we would have it over an endpoint security as an ASR rule to say like this is reducing your attack surface reduction, but also putting it over in device configuration to say, you know, if you're an Intune admin, you can still have this over here. Or if you're only in the mem console, you can have this over here as a template, and you don't necessarily have to think to go over to endpoint security. But it's mostly based on that template. And then sort of the other third leg of this simplified policy creation is a baseline. So if you're back at where we have profile type up there, you'll be making the decision, do I want to make my own thing? Do I just want to see all the settings and put whichever ones I like together? Do I want to go with a template so it's like a little more curated and I can see like some of the settings that might go together? And you'll see some settings in here definitely crucial for that. So like email profiles, Wi-Fi profiles, VPN, SCEP certs, PKCS certs, all that stuff sort of fall in.
Click through one just for.
Yeah. So it's imperative that these are together. Like if you just went and disabled SSL over email in a settings catalog profile, it wouldn't really do much for you if you don't have a full email profile written. So
completely.
So that's the direction we're heading by simplifying the creation experience, in that instead of trying to make that decision of where's this setting and how do I find it in this template, we're gonna say, do you want to create your own from sort of a bag of settings in the settings catalog in the shopping cart experience? Do you want to start with a template and see sort of all the settings for that scenario? Or do you want to see all the settings with the scenario and have recommendations? So that's when you're getting into like some baseline territory. So that's kind of where we're going from the settings catalog introduction. It's kind of that first lens into all the work we're doing with these dynamically generated settings. So let's look into the settings catalog. And first off, do you have any questions on the settings catalog or what I just sort of went over?
So probably the question that I know is being asked a lot in the community is, say for something like BitLocker, do I set that in a settings catalog policy, or do I set that in endpoint security, or do I use the traditional template?
Configuration policy.
Yeah, for now, it depends on what else you want in the policy. If you want to pair your bit, say you don't have BitLocker deployed today, you kind of have that option. Do you want to make a standalone profile and sort of target it to everyone, and you know that you're not going to put BitLocker anywhere else? Are you sort of testing with a machine that isn't targeted already and you just want to try a couple things and go into settings catalog and configure what you want and throw it down? Or do you sort of want to, like BitLocker might be in the baseline as well, right? So do you want the recommended settings for BitLocker, right? If you're not really sure and you just want to make sure it's set up correctly, you can do that too. You could certainly do it in settings catalog, absolutely, especially if you just want to flip on a couple of the settings that you know There's fewer guardrails, so especially with BitLocker, I've seen that people get maybe they'll have some conflicting settings or something like that, especially on like requiring prompt and things like that. So settings catalog is very much less guardrails, and you'll see that as we go in here. And the other thing that's nice is if we use the Bluetooth example, so you have the Bluetooth CSP there, and if you select that, the Bluetooth.
And by the way, I'm double clicking on these just for you, because if you just click them, they're not doing anything. So you have to double click them. I'm just narrating for those at home.
I noticed that today, and we'll look into that absolutely. And yeah, I noticed that today when I was doing some demos. So we'll take a look at that. So for Bluetooth specifically, you can see that these are all settings about how Bluetooth behaves. The actual turn off Bluetooth is in here. But if you go up into search and you search for Bluetooth, you'll get not only the Bluetooth settings and the Bluetooth CSP, but also anywhere else that mentions Bluetooth that you might have missed if you were just creating a policy with that CSP. So if you go to connectivity, there's the allow Bluetooth setting, and then once you've added it, this is dynamically generated.
If I zoom out just a little bit, we can see it as it goes there. Okay, that's cool.
Adam, your internet's not coming through well on the recording, so maybe we'll get Ben to share if his screen's not super high res, if that's okay.
Yeah, doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it's just a little buggy. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the tenant is in Aussie land, so it's fine.
Let's blame Australia.
Yeah, it's always Australia's fault.
Shouldn't.
It's not. It's Adam's internet.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if logically it's incorrect, it's somehow Australia's fault.
Well, from just talking to you guys today, it sounds like Adam might be a little cursed. Mike and. It sounds like, his policies are randomly getting deleted. We don't know how. I mean, he does just add people as global admin.
Currently, I'm getting 84 megabits on my internet, which should be 400. So, yeah, I don't know.
Listen, the question
we just had an ice storm here.
Yeah, the question you need to ask is it a curse or is it karma?
Yes.
All right.
Or is it just Adam? It's just Adam's skills.
Yeah.
Well, while Ben gets that going, you had mentioned conflicts earlier. How does settings catalog handle conflicts that happen?
Same as what we have today. If you were going to create a conflict between two device restriction profiles or a device restriction profile and an endpoint security profile, the difference is that today, if you create a baseline and a device restriction profile and maybe a custom profile, they all have different graph endpoints. And the nice thing about settings catalog and the direction we're taking is instead of different settings being in different profile types, everything that you will create will go into the same policy. So whether it is from a template or a settings catalog or a baseline, it will all go into the same type of just blanket policy. Okay. That's long term, but settings catalog is using that today.
Cool. Gotcha.
All right. So let's.
Well, hold on. Sorry, Ben.
Yep,
we've opened that can, so let's go down that path a little bit. Keep it all together in one. So my understanding, and I mean, you kind of described this in the beginning here. So the complexity of the various ways that we can send down the settings to a device, and even the fact that we can use custom CSPs for some of these more complex things, seems like it significantly complicates the ability for the devs to be able to build in the conflict resolution component here. Not saying it's impossible, but it feels like there's a whole lot of moving parts here and a whole lot of different ways that things could be set. And most of that is getting shoved down to the client and then being processed client side. And then the client is telling us, oh, hey, there was a conflict but Intune didn't know it was going to be a conflict until it made it down to the client. At least that's my impression of how that's occurring today. And so, does that feel like something that's going to come that we're going to see as
some ability to do conflict resolution or at least policy processing order type functionality?
It's certainly getting easier. That's one of the big things about settings catalog is now that every setting is I'll use the analogy of an unspecified brand of building blocks that they're all standardized, and whether you get an unbranded specified building block from a kit or from a wall and whatnot, they're all the same pieces. And that's where we're headed, just standardizing everything, and then and all that. So settings catalog is sort of, we're saying, here's everything we've standardized. Boom, here, create what you like from this profile, and then we've got our work cut out for us for going through and getting everything to play together nicely. But you hit it right on the head. Is it makes it a lot easier for us to do all the really cool stuff. It's makes me think about things like policy duplication, import export, easier conflict resolution, comparing two policies to each other, all that stuff. Because it is, you said, as you mentioned, the conflict would happen at the device, and actually we do detect the conflict before it actually hits the device, even though we show it in a report. We can show. We should be able to look at two profiles or policies and be able to see what settings are in there, since they're all built off the same common block, and say, hey, this one says this one says this. That's going to cause a conflict if the device checks in, and allow an admin to go fix it. And today it's a little bit complicated to fix because of the way that we handle not configured. So not configured can be a challenge to handle because some settings don't have it. Some settings do. And we handle it differently. And it's really the nice thing about settings catalog. If you go in and create this well-named, properly versioned, alphabetically.
Listen, I'm just following the standards that were dictated to me by the people that run this amazing training channel. All right?
Yeah.
So
with that in mind, is the thought process to have one policy that does everything that it possibly can, or
one policy to rule them all,
so to speak?
Could be.
So I mean, because there are two schools of thought, right? Even if we go away from settings policies, which I know we probably shouldn't, but like with configuration policies as well, is some people think, put everything in one thing and just push one policy down. Problem with that, as you said, with like not configured doesn't always work in everything, because tri-state is something that's being added as we sort of go along.
Right. Is
that sometimes you can't turn off a thing, or you can't set it back to not configured. So it's my belief that it's small things that do very specific bits of configuration and lots of them. It looks messy, but it allows you to sort of chop and change. Do you agree with that, Mike?
Every customer has a different need.
Sure.
Whether it's we need to put our giant baseline down and then report against it for compliance needs, or if it's we're going to create 15 different policies or 15 different policies and deploy them out. Each group gets their own policy, even though the policy is the exact same. We've seen that as well.
Yeah.
Depending on who you talk to and depending on their independent needs, you could technically go in here and create, add every setting if you wanted to. There's about 2,000 settings right now. We're adding settings nonstop. It's incredible the number of settings in Windows. I think identified right now it's over 7,000.
Wow.
So yeah, we're just adding. A lot of those are ADMX. I think if you scroll up, you should see administrative templates as a folder. Yeah. So we're adding in settings here as we go as well. This is the bulk of them. And I think Windows Insiders posted that they've added an additional 1,500 settings or something like that.
Should I use the?
Yes, please raise your hand properly, Adam.
Raising my hand.
Yes, Adam.
Thanks for calling on me, sir.
We're professional
children. So ADMX, and so you just said we're adding stuff. We've got 2,000 in there. Okay, so if I go over to the ADMX template, so this is my real world experience today. I was really bummed when I got in here today because I've been migrating group policies over. and creating all the Intune stuff, converted my baselines and getting some, all the things. I said, so I put everything on hold for the last couple of weeks, ever since the notice came out. All right, I'm ready. And I got in there today, and none of the stuff that I tried was in here at all.
Yeah.
I know it's coming, and I know this is preview, and I'm not like, that was kind of expected, but I was like, why aren't at least the ADMX things for Edge in here? There's IE ADMX templates in here, but not Edge. And I was like, come on, really? Who prioritized this list? But
I know. So everything, things are coming in waves. What we're doing is in our process, we test every setting, make sure that it writes, make sure that it reports back, make sure that everything looks good, make sure that the strings look good, make sure that the devices look good. Because in a data-driven, or make sure that the values look good and the control looks good and all that stuff, and that it actually works and makes sense. So in a data-driven model, you still need some sort of human intervention to make sure that, there was an early bug where BitLocker was 2 words. Some people might still see that, stuff like that. So we're working through that, and like you said, it's preview. We're adding settings and administrative templates are on that radar. And so, the idea is that we'll have everything that's in the administrative templates profile here as well, including the Edge settings. I think the original priority is we want to make sure that we add coverage for everything that's in device restrictions as well as the security baseline. And so we're just going to keep building and building and building.
So with that in mind,
yes,
you guys
Jake, you have a question?
add things. Are there going to be things that only show up in the settings catalog that you can't find, like in an administrative template or elsewhere?
There's stuff in here now that you can't find, like auditing, I believe. There might be some auditing settings in baseline, but these I think are net new, and I think power settings are in here as well. Power CSP, I believe, is in here, which should be.
Let's have a look.
Might
so
be
just
new.
for everyone, I haven't seen this. I haven't looked at this stuff, so I'm just clicking through and looking at things. This is all very exciting for me. So, I mean, look, the lead close stuff exists as a configuration policy at the moment. That was relatively new. That wasn't there, like, say, 9 months ago. But unattended sleep. This would have been lifted from ADMX policies, I think.
These may be ADMX backed. And I'll actually cover that as well, because ADMX has come up quite a few times. And so I talked about CSPs and features building CSPs. At one point, the DM team decided that they would basically build a CSP that just can write ADMX. And so that really opened the door to have a data-driven way from the client side to open up all of these settings, and then based on customer feedback, add additional ones. And so we manage these through our administrative templates profile. Ben, you'll like this. If you haven't seen it, you should click learn more on one of those tooltips.
Cool. I'm gonna do it. Where are we going?
Yes. Oh,
hello.
That is nice.
So completely data driven, and actually that allow user to change workplace settings should also be the tooltip. So the description and the documentation is our tooltip. Some of them are short, some of them are long, some of them provide cases to say, if you turn this off, this will happen. If you turn this on, this will happen, which is super helpful rather than just sort of talking about the setting briefly. So
that's great.
So Mike, well, I see here we are. We're just going to be off the rails for a bit. So back on that page there, Ben.
It's not me this time.
I know, but we're here, and I'm
somehow it's your fault, Steve.
So if you glance at this page, tell me which thing is the heading that tells me what section of what setting I'm looking at as you scroll through this, because as you scroll, it's like nearly impossible to figure out, well, which thing is the name of the setting that I'm trying to configure. I know there's the links at the top and everything, but it sure would be great if you just increase the font by like
it does. Hold up.
So it's actually settings. Yeah. So it's the thing that's highlighted up there. I'm pointing at my screen like you can, this right there, that part is that's the category.
I know, but so what my point is that it when you're scrolling through this and trying to find the next setting, it jumbles together quite a bit. I've just struggled to find things in here.
Gotcha. That's good feedback. That it needs a little bit. But larger.
It is also quite clever. Like I quite liked just being able to go in here. And I know that obviously if you click away, it drops off, but like having that, if I scroll away,
Yeah.
And, I should, in theory, let's see if I can find it. Probably not. There we go. It's there. So, I mean, obviously the dream would be that stays there, or, some kind of highlighted thing.
If you just refresh, it's got an anchor tag in the URL, so it's going to take you back there every time you refresh the page.
So the other thing you'll notice is this page is great because it gives you applicability information. And since we're building all of these in a data-driven way off of the settings, all the settings have the data or the applicability information stored in the setting as well. Totally. So if you go back to the picker, one thing we've done is we've built a filter so that you can filter based on what OS edition of Windows you're using. So if you're deploying for, let's say,
do you have multiple operators, or it's just?
It's equal for now. Okay. We're looking at adding additional filters.
I really like that this has been created for people that just need to understand that equals means is exactly. This is good. Okay.
So you can select your edition here. So if you're deploying HoloLens, so HoloLens is a great example because there are things that apply only to HoloLens, and there are things that
click HoloLens.
Don't apply to HoloLens.
I'm going to do this. Let's completely.
The holographic for business?
I don't know what HoloLens is. I don't know what HoloLens is. Everyone gets excited about it. I still don't know what it is.
Really?
Take a minute.
Is it a hoverboard with Windows 10 on it? Because that'd be cool.
Steve will tell you. He's excited about it. Did you see
Steve, you wanna?
It's a headset that you.
Yeah.
It's right. Okay, that's what I thought. And everyone's just like, "Can I manage this with what?"
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so value HoloLens.
It's a computer you wear on your head.
The part that I'm going to ask here, Mike, is going to sound crazy, but we have there sitting there and saying OS for Windows Home. Why?
You can enroll home devices.
No, you can't. Not in Intune.
You can.
Can you? I'm pretty sure you
can. You can. There's some documentation out there that says otherwise, but you can enroll a Windows Home device.
You just can't register it into AAD.
That's correct. Yes. Yes.
I mean, all of the documentation on the CSPs where you just were have home as an option, and it's always got the X in it.
That's mostly because if someone enrolls a home version of Windows, that you're implying that it's someone's personal machine, and you don't want to be able to go and configure those settings, right? So those are mostly blocked out. I think you can select home; it won't be a lot. Let's do HoloLens, and I'll show you that.
HoloLens. Let's check out HoloLens.
Because enterprise is going to be mostly everything, but you can see this is a subset of all the settings available. If you want to add a filter, so in the future we can add an additional filter that says show me versions and stuff like that. So
can I break stuff? Can I?
So that'll show you where there's overlap. So that'll tell you both. Oh, so it works on HoloLens and
that's cool.
Windows Enterprise. Yeah, and then
that's a smart way of doing that.
And we'll keep adding stuff there, and we have applicability behind the settings, and so this gets you out of the position where you create a big version of settings. Actually, stay right here before you go any further, because I want to talk about that user thing. All right. So in the past, you might need to create a device restrictions profile, an administrative templates profile, and a special profile like Teams is a good example, or Windows 10 Teams is a good example. You have to create a separate profile for your Surface Hub devices. And so you're now creating 3 or 4 profiles to do basically full coverage for that particular piece of hardware. Yep. Here you could create one thing that says, this is all the stuff I know is going to work on HoloLens. I can do my browser stuff here. I can do my device lock, the experience stuff, and then I know that it's all going to work on that version.
Okay. So in this scenario here that I'm looking at, because I still want to go through the case of just setting up a bunch of settings and then seeing what it looks like at the end. But with this so we've got allow password manager and then allow password manager user. Is that literally just, so if I select this, is device and any user on that machine going to be affected?
So here, I'll take it back a bit. So a CSP or a node allows, it's either user scope. So if you actually look at the CSP, it'll say /user/vendor.
So this goes to where it ends up in the registry if we're taking it back to our famous grouped profiles.
Ultimately, yeah, our grouped profiles. So historically, I'll say probably like 1 in 6 settings is actually user scope, which means when you deploy it to a user, only that user on the machine will get that policy.
Yeah.
And this is separate from targeting, right? So this is more so like the actual setting itself. Does it work for the user, or does it hit everyone on the machine? Which, if you want to get into the details, registry being current user or local machine, right? So in the past, we've sort of just used, not all of them have both options, but we've tended to move towards device. But if you have the scenario, like a HoloLens, and maybe there's multiple users who are going to use it, and you want to say this person has it in this way and this person has it in another way, and you're going to target it that way, we want to give you that tool, right? So
so the scenario here is, say, okay, so let's pick on
pause.
password manager.
There's 2 typos, by the way. Need a space, suggestions in.
Suggestions in. Let me take a screenshot.
Yes.
Okay. So when you finish, we'll pop back in.
I got it.
Okay. Sweet. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all good. No, that's fine. All right. Hold up. So do we want to keep going? Because I'm gonna say we pop back in. We'll edit this bit out.
We won't edit that. I'll just leave it in.
Oh, okay.
No, leave
fine.
it in. Leave it in.
It's too much work.
That's
okay.
fine.
So in this scenario, if I selected allow password manager for user and deployed it to Jake, for example, on his HoloLens, and I logged in, it wouldn't affect me on that device. It'd just be for his targeted user account on that machine. Yeah.
So if you target it to his user,
yes.
If you target it, you can still target it to a device though, and then in our nice
and then it'll be any user. Yeah.
Like loopback merge.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. So this is just for people watching. This is a way that you can have settings for your standard users that don't apply to you, the admin, so that you can get in and do things on people's machines, in a roundabout way.
And it depends
on security, is what he just said.
Hack the mainframe is what I just said.
So we want to make that tool available, right? The spirit of the settings catalog is, if it exists, let's show it here. And in some earlier versions, or you might still see it, we had device in parentheses as well. But since it's far and away more common, the default is device, and then we'll show user if there's the option. And some settings only support user. A lot of the customization settings only support user. A lot of the ADMX settings have both options as well. So yeah, but it doesn't. You can target the user stuff to a device. You can target device stuff to a user. There's sort of a graph, a mental graph you can make of, if I target user to device, it hits everyone. If I target user to user, it's per user. All that good stuff.
So Ben, go ahead and click through and add a couple of these to the profile, so we can kind of finish out on the creation of a settings catalog profile. But then I've got some additional questions for you around the template, the templates versus the settings catalog stuff as well. So
okay,
but I kind of want to.
I think not configured got us here, right? Tri-state. So go ahead and just select all these settings. Just do select all these settings, and then close out the picker. So that's there you go. Yeah. And now you've got this. So each setting will still have the tooltip. And then we have the values, and so you can see there the allow cookies. The value tells you, allow cookies from all sites. And if you select that drop down up at the top, the value is actually informed as well. So we can say,
allow all block only
and all sites. But let's say that you have a conflict, and you actually come in here on an edit flow, and you want to remove this. If you click that minus button to the right, that setting is now set to not configured. And so when we save, so previously when you save a profile, we basically save the state for every setting. In this, we save a profile object that only has the settings that you see. So
so that gives you the ability to pull that out of the setting, which thereby sets it back to not configured.
And then when we detect the change, we send the remove command down. Now I'll point out that CSPs behave differently. So if I do a remove command against Bluetooth, we're not going to decrypt your drive. If you remove password policy, we're not going to go remove your password or something like that. Each CSP behaves differently. So your mileage may vary depending on
All right, so I'm going to add, so I've added some browser settings. I'm going to add something else that's equally connected. Let's do.
And while you're doing that, Jake had the question: what's the smiley face up there by scenario for?
I have an open. I have an open bug for that.
Oh, it's a bug.
It's not a bug. It's just being really friendly.
I think it's the common control and it's still there. We just need to pop it out. Yeah.
We'll go into connected. We'll do this. We'll allow Bluetooth.
Okay. And you still have the filter on for HoloLens, right? So this list looks a little short, and you can remove that filter and see everything. And
gotcha.
I'm pretty sure there's more in connectivity.
7 out of 8 settings are configured, right?
Yeah. So that's sort of a visual indication to say, like, you might have searched and found Bluetooth, but there's more settings in this category that you might not.
That's cool.
Hey, go ahead and add an ADMX one in there while we're in here as well.
Sure. Let's
this is a game changer.
Explorer. Love that term. All right, so we'll delete browsing history.
There you go.
Oh, hey, wait. I don't have to double click anymore.
You shouldn't have to double click.
Hey, listen, I did at the start of the video.
But you've already expanded, so maybe it's at the top level. I don't know. It's just weird.
Maybe it's just Adam's internet.
This is in preview, folks. I don't know.
That's okay. That's fine. The UI will always improve. Okay, so I've selected a couple of things. I'll just do them all. Why not? Cool. So then, okay, so I've selected those, but then from there, I then need to actually define what they are. So by default, I've got it to disabled. So I need to light that up, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is like basically we are saying we want to configure this setting, but we're not configuring it initially. We're just selecting it from the menu to say include this in my cart of things I'm going to push down.
And we load the default.
My crucial policies.
Yeah. Just a quick one out of this is if I go and load them all, for example, of the IE, what's this section you're in there at the moment, Ben?
This is administrative template.
Yep. So the delete browser history, and I add all of those subcategory settings.
Yeah.
And I leave, say for example, I then just go, well, you know what, disable configuring history. I'm just going to leave it as what it was on the screen because I didn't care. That's going to actually disable it and change the setting on the client computer unless I remove that from the picker list, right, Mike?
Yeah, so everything in here is configured by way of it not being not configured. So everything that's in here will send an intent. So we will, anything that's in here, we'll go and we'll find out what the CSP is, the CSP, and then we'll author the syncML. Everything in here will be a command, whether it's 1 or 0, right? So what's interesting is that a lot of settings allow to the end user, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
But if I have two policies and one says allow and one says disabled, technically that's a conflict, right?
Yes.
Because the third state would be not configured. And so this allows us that you don't have to pick disabled or enabled. You could simply remove it. As a way to achieve that.
So Ben, hit the remove on one of these because I wanted to show just on any of them. Okay, so I was curious to know, even in the ADMX, it still shows you the number of items in that category as well. So that's okay, awesome.
Yep. And then we'll give you an undo button in this session, but after the session, so if you go and save this, we won't have that allow
that makes sense because it doesn't hold that state. Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
And you can click that undo button to bring it back within this session. And if you've created a whole bunch of text entry and then you accidentally click it, when you click it back, everything that you created will come back.
Sweet, that's really cool.
And we handle dependencies as well because the dependencies is stored in the CSP. So you can't add days to keep pages in history by itself. We'll show it here, and we'll only light it up if you select the parent. And then if you set the parent to not configured, we clear out the child setting as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So basically, you're saying everything that you add from the pick list into here gets a default value, and then we have to, once we've configured it, we have to not configure it after that if we've pushed it down to a client to be able to remove it. And then, but then essentially, if we don't set it, we're going to get the default value, whatever that is.
Yep.
When it comes in. Awesome.
Yep.
I like this little. It's telling me that I can't. That's good.
What do you mean? I can't keep it more than
2,000
3
days?
years?
10 million.
Well, 999 is what, 3 years, or just shy of?
Yeah, it's not enough. I want to keep.
Mike, I have
for the rest of my life.
I have another UX experience thing.
Okay.
Scroll back up there, Ben. I mean, while we're here, so I've noticed, and I drilled down even further on my screen. But you notice the caret. So Windows Components / Internet Explorer, and then the caret. So for everything, like in the settings catalog, when you're selecting the ADMX, like basically the wording here matches whatever is in the catalog when you're selecting it. So Ben, if you don't mind, click Add Settings again and go back into Administrative Templates. So all these carets make it through. So what gets shown for Windows Components / Internet Explorer is exactly what's on the screen here. But then all of the sub items as you drill through are delimited by the caret instead of by the backslash.
So, for example, if Ben puts the security page and all the settings for internet zone,
all of those child items will have a caret in between them instead of a backslash.
And keep in mind too, here comes 70 settings. All right. Keep in mind too, security page might have its own settings as well. So you can click on security page, and security page will have its own settings. And so we'll show, so see that these are both subcategories within the Internet Explorer. I think if you go up, are these both Internet Control Panel?
Yeah.
A little more.
Internet Explorer.
No.
Yeah. So they're both in administrative templates. And you can remove the whole subcategory, but that's how we split them out by subcategory. So to sort of differentiate between the category and the subcategory.
Sorry, I'm just scrolling. There's a lot. A lot of settings here.
A lot. There's about 900 Internet Explorer settings.
That's fantastic. The browser that everyone uses.
There's a setting in there to turn it off too.
Oh, watch this. Did you see that drop out?
Countdown, yeah.
It was interactively removing them. That's great.
That's very cool.
Okay, cool. So I've gone through and I've created my thing. I'm happy with these settings. And I guess the rest is just follow the bouncing ball. You do your assignments and you scope tags, and that's it.
There's another bell or whistle I'll show you as well if you click all the way through. So I think we've let me see. I think we've covered everything in the picker and catalog itself.
Yep.
We talked about filters, we talked about ad settings, we talked about not configured and how we handle not configured, the dynamically generated user interface, tooltips, all that good stuff.
Can you undo or remove category and subcategory?
You can't undo or remove category or subcategory unless you go back into ad settings and add the category back.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can undo a setting removal, but you can't undo a whole subcategory, which makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Don't fat finger that one, guys.
And also, if you, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mike. So if you're editing a policy, and it just isn't what you want, or you need to cancel, just hit the X and it'll keep the setting there because you haven't posted the change.
So long as you don't hit save,
that's right.
You can just close that little X in the very top right. Will close the whole edit experience.
Yeah, cool.
Don't do it now because this is the first time, and you spent so much time giving it a nice name.
So much time.
All those 999s.
Oh, it's fine. Okay.
Is that the number for emergency services?
No. Anyway. Okay. So
Any other questions while we're in the catalog?
Not in there, but I do have one I'm holding.
Okay.
We're pretty good there.
Okay.
More settings, more filters are coming. Fit and finish. I mean, not fit and finish, but as people are interacting with it and providing feedback, we're going to consistently have maybe some UX tweaks as we go.
Okay, so I'm not going to assign that to anyone because whatever, that's fine. Scope tags, we all understand scope tags.
And you can do review and create, and you can see all of your settings there.
Cool.
Give you a nice little summary.
Nice.
And then hit create, and then I'll show you something new as well.
Go ahead.
Let him finish. Steve.
No, go ahead.
The interesting thing for me there is it didn't have review plus create on the button. It just went create.
Because you're reviewing it on the screen. Yeah,
I know, but
it used to be. I think it used to be, right. You'd create the policy and then you had to go back and do the assignment, right? And so now we do it all in one flow. So you're ready to go. Like technically, devices can start checking in and getting that policy.
Yeah, cool. I didn't realize emojis were part of our naming convention. That's cool. I'll have to remember.
They are now.
Okay, great. All right. So
open that
Mike,
one up.
All right.
And you'll see our new overview page.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that is nice.
If you view report, it'll take you to
drills down.
a list of devices. Yeah, and it's already in the policy. If you do basics, so you used to see essentials up at the top, and then you'd have like monitor and the tabs down the side. It's all in one place now, including your configuration settings down at the bottom. So if you click, you can expand those and just view it right here. You can see your assignments and your scope tags all in one place. And the reports are all built on all the new reporting. If you've seen all the new stuff that's coming out from reporting, which is coming out from our team, this is leveraging all of it. And so, yeah, like if you go to the device report, or if you click view report, it'll pop you into this, which would be a list of devices, and then you can click on the device. It'll take you into per setting status, so you could see the settings for that device and all the current states.
Are there additional columns in that as well? I see there's the option for it.
Intune device ID, manufacturer, and model.
Very cool. And will those will we see that in other existing profile types, or just in the settings catalog profiles?
Starting with settings catalog, and then as we progress, you'll see this propagate through other areas. The other thing I'll point out is if you actually had a device configured, normally you might go and click on the device and go into device configuration, and that's how you'll see the results. We're in the same spot, so your settings catalog stuff will show up under device configuration when you're in the actual device.
Awesome.
Nice.
There was a note on the previous page talking about pending. The one thing that we are working on right now is getting that pending state in. So I know a lot of people use pending as a way to make sure that you've targeted correctly.
Oh, sure. Yep.
And so we'll show failures and success as the device comes and checks in.
Okay.
So if you're looking for that, we want to put that note, because we do see people who, and I do it myself, right? And you tell me if
you use pending to know that it's been. Yeah, I use it all the time.
Targeted.
Yeah, I use it specifically for like one of the more common ones is for like autopilot policy enrollments for devices, to make sure that it's going through that process. You do pending, and then you sit there and refresh until you pass out. Yeah, it's exciting.
So for preview right now, it's in the works. So
cool. Okay, so to Ben, go back out to devices. So now we basically are you've added a new place to do this, where hopefully in the long run we can mostly set all the things there, but you said at the beginning that some stuff just won't be part of the settings catalog due to the complexity. So it sounds like things like the templates and a couple other things will stick around. Plus I guess what I was hoping to see was it would be and it's fine if the answer is no. The
answer's no.
Do we have to listen to the question? No.
I mean, oh,
go ahead. I think I know what the question is.
You do know it. It's, yeah. I mean, so basically, I'd love to have templates be included in the catalog, in my settings catalog profile. So when I go to set, if I just say, oh, well, I've already got a VPN template that has all the settings in one place, can I just include the template as its own settings?
Can this be included in the settings catalog?
Creating a template which would look like a scoped down version of the settings catalog type thing that you can copy paste, type, generate off.
Add the templates into the settings catalog, so when I'm selecting categories, I can just select a template as a category instead of a category and then select all the individual settings. Does that make sense?
So I'll read this back and I'll comment. It would be nice to have a way to take the large settings of that we have in settings catalog and view them in a scenario focused way, right? That's what
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or like have your own template to say like,
but really the other way around.
But it's not 7,000.
No, it's more. No, I would say it's more like, okay, so I like what you've got in a template. I've got the the BitLocker template, but
You
just
wanna
make
copy
part of
paste
the settings
over.
catalog so that
You
if
just
I
want
say
one
I
big
want the whole
policy for everything.
category,
Yeah.
I just want to select at the top level of.
Yeah.
Adam just wants his group policy back.
You want
He
to
does.
create your own template,
Yes.
maybe?
No.
Well, maybe
No?
no. So okay, let me and Adam, tell me if I'm wrong here. I'm wrong.
Sure.
So the way that I imagine you would see this is you go Windows Simulator, settings catalog, and then go from template. You select a template, and it all comes up in settings catalog, and then you can like drill in and do whatever you want. So what Mike is saying is correct. It's a filtered version of settings catalog specifically to a template of settings that are common to use in those scenarios.
I guess so. Because I think you were saying something like this in the beginning, where you're saying using this as a like the way we're using baselines.
Mhm.
So like I want to import the template or the baseline to start of all the things, and then build on that. But I don't want it to be just filtered to BitLocker policies and just editing BitLocker policies, the BitLocker policy templates as a settings catalog. I want BitLocker policies, and then I want VPN policies. I want.
Oh, you want to be able to bolt templates
I just
onto
want it
other
all
templates.
in one place. So when I'm in the settings catalog
policy.
and I'm saying add settings, I want to be able to add a template as a group of settings into my massive set.
So you know how at the beginning of this I was saying there's two trains of thought, and that my thought is like lots of little policies. Adam's the other person.
There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of folks want to go.
Well, let me tell you this. Let me tell you the scenario that I'm dealing. So I have currently in production. I've got 8 trusted root certificate profiles that I have to deploy out, and that's and each you can only add one certificate to each of those profiles, and so now I have 8 that I have to manage. Now you have policy sets, which is a thing, or is it policy sets? Profiles?
Policy sets. Yep.
Policy sets or groups.
Sets.
Policy sets.
I know.
It's not policy groups, because we don't talk about policy groups, because that'd be confusing.
That'd be profile groups.
So policy sets is a way to group all those together. But at this point, if I'm going into settings catalog, would I be able to, and they're not there right now, but if you add in trusted root certs, can I add 8 trusted root certs as part of my settings catalog profile, or am I still going to have to create 8 different profiles? I want a way to be able to pile all of my certificate things into one thing, and maybe that's where policy sets is the thing, and I'm fine with that. I just just trying to find out what the intent is behind how we.
Are you fine with that?
So
it all works. Yes.
Certificates is an interesting one, and it falls in the same boat as like firewall rules, where you can have multiple instances of the same thing and you name them, and then actually the CSP, the actual OMI path gets changed based on what you're sending down, like a Wi-Fi profile and stuff like that, like a multi-instance thing. We're looking at the ones that make sense to add to settings catalog. Beyond that, or sort of talking about the first part, is more around, I'm reading it more as like template customization, where this is great, you've built a template, let me take it and expand on it. Or that's great, you've given me a baseline, I actually want to add these other 15 settings and expand on it. When we're all working with our unspecified brand building blocks, it's a whole lot easier for us to realize that vision.
Lincoln logs.
LinkedIn logs. It's a lot easier for us if we want to realize that type of thing down the road, as well as once everything's all on a uniform and standardized platform. I'm being very careful, if you can't tell, because
I'm not asking you to commit to anything. I am a customer expressing my interest in what you've got going on, and just saying, hey, this is what I would like to see out of the product, but maybe other people don't care at all.
We've heard the feedback
I'm
loud.
I'm asking.
We've heard the feedback loud and clear. And we have, I mean, when we're looking at the future of settings catalog templates and baselines as being the way that you start creating a policy, it's only natural that there's feedback around. I want to create my own templates. I want to import, export them, create a template, spin a bunch of profiles off of it. They're the same. Yep. With baselines, there's questions about version upgrade, comparing different versions of different profiles and stuff like that. So standardization helps all of these scenarios. Absolutely.
So after all that, I heard yes. So that's good.
Maybe not as completely described, but that's I mean, let's give folks the tools that you can do the stuff you need to do with the least amount of restriction and the least amount of technical limitation at that point. That's where I'm looking at this. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Nothing committed. Did I do okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
We gotta use the.
I didn't even say roadmap.
Wait, I can do that too.
It's good. So I mean, ultimately, what I've heard and is that that you are trying to standardize all of the pieces of how this is implemented on the back end, so that you can make things more flexible, more fluid, more dynamic across the platform, so that it will be easier to do things like we're talking, more advanced functionality, and make it easier from a UX perspective to manage this stuff,
while making sure not to impact anything that's already there, right? Because
that's a big one.
If you're fully deployed and you're happy, play around with settings catalog, add a couple settings if you want, but if you're fully deployed and you're done,
just leave it.
Your maintenance mode, leave it. That's totally fine. And there's no call to migrate. There's no anything like that.
Big one that we should be calling out is, if you have BitLocker there working today, don't feel you need to go and recreate it in Session Catalog.
Please.
Yeah. The most important part of the whole session is right at the end that nobody will listen to.
Can we start here? Can we do the thing where we're like, here's the hot take, and then dive into it? That's the call to action, right? So it's no more than we're building this foundation with standardized parts, super flexible, opens us up to do a whole bunch of stuff moving forward. If you don't have a need for going in and configuring more policy, that's fine. If there's a setting that you have in custom OMA that is just giving you all kinds of headaches, go create it in settings catalog, by all means. Get rid of the custom OMA. That's the big story too. And the next time you go and see a policy and you're like, I got to go create this in custom OMA profile, especially once we hit GA and we have additional settings here, use the settings catalog.
Ooh, awesome. I've got it. No, don't wrap it up, Steve. I got one more. So you should get on the docs page. On the docs page, you should put a note that says included in settings catalog. Just take out Windows Home out of the list and say settings catalog and put a checkbox there. Let us know that it's there.
We could.
That way I don't have to go write a custom CSP. I know, no, it's already in. It's in the settings catalog. I don't need to, or something to tell me that it's native in some native Intune interface that isn't a CSP. OMA.
But everybody uses custom CSPs to build out the OMA URIs.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Sometimes I've done it in the past for certain settings and stuff. So there's still a use case for it, right? Like if we don't have the setting, or I mean, eventually I like to get to the point where it's like the last ditch effort, and for whatever reason, actually, you know what? If settings catalog is out and we're at the settings, like we've hit all the settings, and you still have a need to use custom OMA, shoot me a tweet. Let's figure out why you're still doing it.
I for one have seen one environment that every setting was a custom OMA, and the guy was really proud of it. And you know what? It all worked.
Yeah.
So good for him. He went the very long way around to get there, but it works. So Yeah.
I've seen multiple environments like that, but I'm not going to explain why.
I know this guy that uses PowerShell for everything, and he won't use the GUI for anything.
Sounds like a great guy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we have. Do you have anything else, Mike, before we go?
No, not for settings catalog. I think we covered everything. We talked about overview page. We didn't really go outside of settings catalog, which is fine. Yeah, I think
when we hang up, we're gonna ask you more questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
The real question.
And are you covering this at Ignite?
Yes, good call. So the what's new in Windows with Mem. I think that's what the session is. It's the Mem Windows session. Myself and Matt Call will be talking about settings catalog. We'll be talking about some of the new developments in the Endpoint Security Center. I don't know if I touched on that a little bit, but we do get the question of people say, this is great, but why isn't it in endpoint security? And really our goal with endpoint security, if you go back and you guys talk to Matt Shadbolt, right, about the goal with endpoint security, it's more so about the security persona having a good place to configure all of those things. Ideally, we'd have that stuff in DC as well, so you're not saying, where's this? It's only over here. It would be, I can still see it in my devices area over in Mem, but the security admin still has that ability to go do that over in the Endpoint Security Center. So they still have their own area to do all of that. But device configuration, we want to add that stuff over there too.
Yeah, I think people get a little confused about the point of security and device configuration because there's an overlap there. They aren't the same thing, but they can be.
Right. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all CSPs. You could do it all in custom HOMA.
Exactly.
You might not have a great time. You might not have a great time, but
challenge not accepted.
Yeah, physics, right? Physics are undeniable.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. We're looking forward to what's to come with this. I know that, just like you said, you keep adding stuff to it, so this is going to be wonderful.
Check out the blog. Check out the blog. Check out the docs.
Links are down there.
Check out Ignite. We'll have those sessions, and then just stay tuned, right? We'll keep posting stuff out as we have new developments. So just stay tuned.
Follow Mike on Twitter as well.
There you go.
So we'll put all of his info in the description. If you've made it this far, high five, congratulations, thanks for sticking with us. This was, I gotta say, guys, this is probably one of my favorite sessions.
Yes,
I'm very excited about this.
Cool.
So thanks, Mike. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.